On a quiet lakeshore, the story begins with almost nothing. Just open ground, uneven edges, and a view that promises more than it gives. But that is where the real challenge lives. Because a modern lake house is easy to imagine, building one from scratch is something else entirely. This is the kind of project that asks for patience, skill, and a stubborn kind of vision. In construction, the dream does not begin with walls, it begins with excavation. The first bite of the bucket into the earth is the moment a home truly starts. And for a talented woman leading the build, that moment carries real meaning. Women now make up 11.2% of the U.S. construction workforce, the highest share in 2 decades, yet on-site trade work is still only about 4.3%. So watching her guide this process from the ground up feels rare and worth following. Before anything rises, the land has to be understood. Trees come down, brush is cleared, the shoreline is studied. The site has to be shaped for access, drainage, and stability, because waterfront construction never forgives mistakes. On a lake, the rules are not just about design, they are about protection. Sediment control has to keep the water clean. Permits have to be handled carefully, and every step has to respect the edge between building and preserving. That balance makes the beginning feel slow, but it matters. A project like this can't be rushed because the lot is not just a blank canvas. It is a demanding environment. Water brings beauty, but it also brings flood risk, soft soil, shifting grades, and long-term exposure. That is why elevation becomes part of the architecture itself. On a waterfront build, height is not just style, it is resilience. Then comes the moment that changes everything. The ground breaks for the foundation. And with that first excavation, the future home officially begins. It is a simple moment, but it carries enormous weight. Because everything that follows will depend on what happens here. Footings, concrete, retaining work, backfill, and drainage systems may disappear once the house is finished, but they decide whether the entire structure stands strong for decades. This is also where reality meets the budget. Lakefront projects climb quickly in cost because land, approvals, and construction all stack together. The average single-family home in the U.S. is now over 2,600 square feet, and the average sales price has climbed to more than $665,000. Much of that price is built into the work itself. The parts underground matter just as much as the parts everyone will see later. In fact, excavation and foundation work can account for a meaningful share of the total construction cost. The hidden work is never cheap. Still, this is the stage where hope starts to feel measurable. Rebar lines up, forms take shape, concrete pours in and settles into place. The outline of the future begins to appear in hard edges and straight lines. It is no longer just a concept. It is a footprint. It is a structure with weight. It is the first solid promise that this lake house will exist. Then the frame rises and the build changes again. Suddenly there are walls, openings for windows, roof lines that define the modern shape. The empty lot begins to look like a home, and that shift is powerful. A house can be imagined from blueprints, but a frame makes it real in a completely different way. You can see the rooms now. You can feel the scale. You can start to understand how the light will move through the space. That is one of the reasons modern lake houses feel so appealing. They are designed to connect indoors and outdoors without interruption. Big glazing pulls the water into the living space. Clean lines keep the structure calm and confident. Covered outdoor areas extend the life of the home beyond one season. This is not just a summer cabin. It is a year-round retreat, built to face bright days, cold mornings, stormy evenings, and everything the shoreline brings with it. And yet, even at this stage, the work still demands discipline. Materials have to arrive on time. Crews have to move in sequence. Weather can slow everything down. Across the country, the average single-family home takes about 10 months to complete, and that timeline makes sense when you watch a build like this unfold. Nothing happens all at once. Every milestone depends on the one before it. That is why progress feels so satisfying. It is earned. As the exterior comes together, the house starts to settle into the land. Siding closes the shell. Windows are installed. Roof details sharpen the silhouette. The structure no longer looks temporary. It looks permanent. And with each completed surface, the vision becomes easier to trust. What started as rough ground is now becoming an elegant retreat with real presence. Then the bridge enters the story, and the whole project reaches a new level. A bridge is not just a link, it is a statement. It says the property is being designed as a connected environment, not a single isolated building. It also carries real engineering responsibility. Even a pedestrian bridge has to be built for actual loads, because safety does not care about how simple something looks. It has to work under pressure, day after day, year after year. This part of the build adds a new kind of tension. Work near water is always more complicated. Any structure that touches or crosses certain waters can trigger additional oversight, because waterways are protected for a reason. That means the bridge is not only a design feature, it is a carefully planned piece of infrastructure. Its placement, support, and finish all have to fit the shoreline without disturbing it. The goal is elegance, but the requirement is stability. When the bridge begins to take shape, the property changes again. It is no longer just a house on a lot. It is an experience. The path across the water gives the entire site a sense of arrival. It turns movement into part of the architecture. It invites you to cross, pause, and look back at the home from a different angle. Suddenly, the shoreline feels intentional, complete, connected. From there, the finishing work carries the project across the line. Interior surfaces are completed. Railings, trim, fixtures, and final details soften the hard edges of construction. Spaces that once existed only in planning now have warmth and personality. The modern lines remain, but now they are balanced by comfort. That is the moment when a build becomes a home. Not because every surface is perfect, but because the place starts to feel lived in, even before the first night inside. And that is the emotional payoff of this whole journey. Not the size, not the cost, not even the engineering, and impressive as it is. The real reward is transformation. A bare lakeside plot becomes a finished retreat. A difficult shoreline becomes a place of calm. A woman with a vision turns raw land into something lasting, beautiful, and functional. Step by step, she proves that craftsmanship can reshape a landscape. By the time the project is complete, the lake house and bridge feel like they belong there. The waterline, the structure, and the surrounding land finally work together as one. What began as an empty site now stands as a modern home built with patience, precision, and determination. And that is what makes the final result so satisfying. It did not appear, it was earned. If you want to follow the next milestone, subscribe now.